This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
South Africa and Kenya report their first deaths from COVID-19. The United States reports dramatic changes overnight in coronavirus cases. And G20 pledges $5 trillion and continued flow of medical supplies and other goods across borders. Hello and welcome to CGTN. This is Africa Live and I'm Karen Roberts in Nairobi. Also coming up in the programme, Uganda's traders count losses after public transport is shut down over COVID-19. And in sports, South African cyclist continues training indoors amid the coronavirus pandemic. Chinese President Xi Jinping has spoken on the phone with his US counterpart Donald Trump about the pandemic. CGTN's Chuck Tinte has more.
It is the second phone call of 2020 between the two leaders, and it was all about the coronavirus. The latest comes as confirmed cases in the US top the world. President Xi said China stands ready to provide support, calling for concerted efforts to enhance information sharing as well as its experience in epidemic control. He also called on both sides to expand cooperation in scientific research and improve global health governance. Regarding economic issues, Xi called for unified efforts to strengthen coordination in macroeconomic policy. He says this is important to stabilize markets, maintain growth, safeguard people's well-being, and ensure the openness, stability, and safety of global supply chains. Xi called on the U.S. to take substantive action in improving bilateral relations. He also suggested the two sides work together to boost cooperation in epidemic control and other fields. And he said the goal should be to develop a relationship of non-conflict and non-confrontation, built on mutual respect and win-win cooperation. Xi also said China hopes the U.S. will take practical and effective measures to safeguard the lives and health of Chinese nationals there. During the phone call, President Xi also said China has been sharing information on COVID-19 in an open, transparent, and responsible manner since the outbreak started. This includes with the World Health Organization and other countries, including the United States. Xi said China has shared its experience preventing, containing, and treating COVID-19 without reservation. He added that China is providing as much support and assistance as it can for countries in need. Xi said China will continue to do so, and that it will work with the international community to help overcome the pandemic. U.S. President Donald Trump said he is grateful towards China for providing medical supplies. He said that his government will protect Chinese students and people in the country. Trump later said on Twitter that the conversation was conducted in great detail and that the two are working closely together. Both leaders agreed to maintain contact on issues of mutual concern going forward. Chuck Tinte, CGTN.
The United States has surpassed China and Italy in having the highest number of COVID-19 cases in the world. The grim milestone comes amid record-high unemployment claims and a $2.2 trillion stimulus package making its way through Congress. CGTN's Nathan King reports now from the White House.
Some 3.3 million Americans went from job security to no job at all in 1 week, the worst unemployment claims figure ever recorded, showing just how fast the effect of this coronavirus shutdown has been in the US.
The nays are zero.
The White House knew the numbers were going to be bad and told US workers that relief is on the way. That $2 trillion plus package has passed the Senate and is set to pass the US House of Representatives. With minor disagreements, US politicians know the need is great.
This is an emergency, a challenge to the conscience as well as the budget of our country. And every dollar that we spend is an investment in the lives and the livelihood of the American people. We can go bigger.
The White House, meanwhile, sent a letter to governors saying the administration is working on labelling different parts of the US at high, medium or low geographical risk from the coronavirus, a move that could see some social and economic restrictions lifted in some areas.
They have to go back to work. Our country has to go back. Our country is based on that. And I think it's going to happen pretty quickly. A lot of progress is made, but we got to go back to work.
And are we seeing the beginning of a global multilateral response? The US president joined his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping and many others in a video conference to address the crisis. The leaders issued a statement saying they will focus on protecting lives, safeguarding people's jobs and incomes, restoring confidence, preserving financial stability, reviving growth and recover stronger, minimise disruptions to trade and global supply chains, provide help to all countries in need of assistance and coordinate on public health and financial measures. Here in the US, despite the US president's optimism, there are still shortages of vital equipment like face masks, ventilators and hospital beds. And it's not just New York. States like Louisiana are showing big spikes in cases that need critical care. The US is about to face its biggest test when it comes to fighting this virus. Nathan King, CGTN at the White House.
An aide of the DRC's president, Felix Tshisekedi, has died of COVID-19. Jean-Joseph Mukendi wa Malumba died in the DRC capital, Kinshasa. CGTN's Chris Otumringa has more.
Mr. Mukendi wa Malumba was a renowned human rights lawyer who played a role in the DRC's opposition politics in the 1980s. He was close to Etienne Tshisekedi, the father of the current DRC president. He's reported to have contracted coronavirus during his trip to France for a medical checkup. A relative of his described his loss as a big blow to the country.
L'honorable bâtonnier Mukendi wa Malumba.
COVID-19 has claimed the life of a patriarch in our family. Honorable Mukendi wa Malumba. He has passed away at the age of 74. He taught us to live in peace. His teachings will be missed by the entire country.
Mr. Mukendi was the acting head of the President's Legal Advisory Council. The DRC president has banned domestic flights and river transport to and from Kinshasa to prevent the spread of the disease. Chris Otumringa, CGTN, Kinshasa, Democratic Republic of Congo.
Well, across Africa, governments have been putting in place different measures to stop the spread of COVID-19. Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni suspended public transport for 14 days over COVID-19. The suspension targets taxis, buses, trains and motorbikes. This leaves only private cars on the roads. CGTN's Hilary Ayesika reports.
Kampala, capital city, is on partial lockdown. The country's public transport has been suspended. Local authorities believe this is the only way to reduce transmission of coronavirus. But the suspension is impacting heavily on people who commute to work daily. The government is encouraging people to work from home.
A motorcycle taxi is the easiest way to get money in this city. The new measures are affecting us.
I believe they're trying to give up precautions on a way how we can keep ourselves safe from contracting the disease.
My income has reduced. I have been earning about $12 a day, but now I can't even make $3.
Private cars are allowed to carry only 2 passengers, and those with bicycles can ride. Health workers are also encouraging people to wash their hands frequently with soap, stay at home, and also seek treatment if they are sick. Through these measures, the Uganda government hopes to reduce the spread of the novel coronavirus. Hilary Ayesika, CGTN, Kampala, Uganda.
Nigeria has imposed a number of anti-epidemic restrictions in Lagos. The commercial capital has the highest number of confirmed cases in the country, but getting residents to comply is proving to be a challenge. CGTN's Deji Badmus tells us why.
Health authorities here have consistently advised people to practice social distancing as the best way to avoid contracting COVID-19. But on the streets of this city, it's basically non-existent. People are still mixing up as if there's actually nothing wrong.
Everywhere you look, there's simply no element of social distancing.
With the exception of few people putting on the face mask, there's hardly anything in people's behavior to suggest the city is battling the coronavirus outbreak. Commercial buses are still getting packed full with passengers. Even private cars are not left out. People generally sit comfortably very close to one another on the streets. And look at this. Fighting on the street, still a common sight. People are obviously not heeding the message of social distancing on the streets of Lagos.
I don't have a choice. I'm worried, but I don't have a choice. There's nothing we can do, and we can't give ourselves space because the person that is standing in front of is the person that is going to pay you, to give you money for either the service you render to that person or the goods you sell to that person. So you can just give distance space like that.
Authorities may have to do more if they expect some level of compliance with the advice on social distancing in this city, because it does seem not even the fear of COVID-19 itself can bring many into line. The government is actually considering a total lockdown of the city, but that too would have enormous consequence for the over 20 million people who live and work here, because the majority of them actually live by what they earn on a daily basis. Deji Badmos, CGTN, Lagos, Nigeria.
South African police have charged 2 men with attempted murder for allegedly continuing to go out after they tested positive for the coronavirus, exposing others to the infection. Police Minister Becky Cele said authorities will jail or fine anyone caught breaking the law set out for the period of the coronavirus outbreak. CGTN's Yolisa Njamela has more.
Authorities are taking no chances. Anyone refusing to be tested or quarantined will be fined, arrested, or both. Those who have now been charged will face the might of the law. The first case was a 52-year-old salon owner diagnosed with coronavirus on 18 March and instructed to be quarantined for at least 14 days. The second charge was filed against a male tourist who tested positive for COVID-19 while on holiday at Kruger National Park.
We've always been saying if anybody does not on their own submit to quarantine, they'll be enforced. Now they've been charged. So we want to send a message again. Please respond. If we ask you to quarantine yourself, you will be forced if you don't cooperate. The same issue goes for those who are asked to divulge all the people that they were with. We actually have the regulations that will actually ensure that people who have been in contact with some of the people must actually divulge those individuals, as it were. To show that you are serious, it tells us that if you break these laws or these regulations, we are 6 months in or fined or both. In KZN, 2 people have been charged already, charged with attempted murder, who deliberately moved around after they've been told that they don't have to move around. So it's not a fairy tale to say the law will act and act very harsh on you.
The minister has also clamped down on alcohol sale and consumption during the 21 days lockdown.
The main act of the Disaster Act says that the movement of the alcohol or liquor can be restricted. There shall be no movement of the liquor from point A to point B. If you find the liquor in your boat, that's illegal, that's crime. So, which means what you have at your home, you'll consume it there, not next door. There shall be no movement.
South Africa has thus far recorded the highest number of the coronavirus infections on the continent. Government is appealing to South Africans to adhere to the law during the 21 days lockdown, but most importantly, to curb the spread of the coronavirus, to basically stay at home for the period. Yolisa Njamela for CGTN in Pretoria, South Africa.
We are going to a short break now. Don't go away. Lots more to come, including Mali's main opposition leader goes missing just days before parliamentary polls. And the impact of the coronavirus pandemic on Africa's supply chain.
Each day, there are millions of stories. Each one can open new perspectives, new possibilities. Wherever you look, we are there to see, discover, explore. We put the pieces together to find what really matters to you, all around the world, all around the clock. Our reporters are at home across the globe. From our headquarters in Beijing and production centers in Washington, Nairobi, and London, China Global Television Network. Stories from across the globe, reaching people across the globe. CGTN. See the difference.
A prominent Malian opposition leader is thought to have been kidnapped. Somalia Cisse and 6 others went missing in the northern Timbuktu region. Militants with links to Al-Qaeda and Islamic State are known to operate in the region. The group was campaigning ahead of the country's March the 29th legislative elections. His party, the Union for the Republic and Democracy, urged the government and UN peacekeepers to help find the missing group. The party said none of the missing members had been heard from since Wednesday afternoon. Mali's main opposition leader missing. After 4 years of research and testing, South Africa has abandoned a clinical trial for an HIV vaccine. The trial was conducted on over 5,000 HIV-negative individuals. But after 18 months, scientists concluded that the vaccine did not work. Sumitra Naidu has the details.
The HVTN-702 clinical trial was meant to prevent people from HIV infection. It was being tested at 14 sites across South Africa.
Your body produces something called antibodies to try to fight off infection. So what this vaccine was trying to do was trying to trick people's bodies into producing these antibodies, so if they came in contact with HIV later, that they would be protected. What the trial found was that although the vaccine was safe, it didn't work, and that's why they stopped it early.
Over 5,000 South Africans between the ages of 18 and 35 took part in the trial. If it was successful, the vaccine would have been a major breakthrough in the fight against HIV. South Africa still has the highest number of people living with the virus.
So as part of this trial, there's about 5,400 people in South Africa who took part. Half got a placebo, which was basically like salt water, and then half got the actual vaccine that they were testing. People didn't know which one they got. It's really important to know that clinical trials like this have a lot of built-in safety mechanisms, right? So there's an independent data body that is sort of reviewing results.
While the vaccine was unsuccessful, there was no safety concerns found during the trial. For now, it's back to the drawing board.
South Africa is part of the countries that are working very hard on the development of vaccine, particularly on HIV issues, mainly because of the large burden of the same diseases in South Africa. I believe that if South Africa leads in the development of vaccines and new treatment regimes, it's important because we're solving problems that South Africa is facing. If you can solve the problems in South Africa, you're solving for the whole world.
Medics are now worried about the coronavirus and its spread in the country. There's close to 8 million people living with HIV in South Africa. Only 65% are on treatment. South Africa also has a high rate of TB infections, which means millions of people are at greater risk of being infected with COVID-19. Sumitra Naidu, CGTN, Johannesburg, South Africa.
Now We continue with our special series, Africa Battles COVID-19. Today, Lindy Mtongana looks at the impact of the pandemic on Africa's supply chains.
Thank you and welcome to our final installment of our special series, Africa Battles COVID-19. Our focus today is trade. Now, Africa imports heavily from China. However, COVID-19 has had a global trade ripple effect that is even being felt across Africa. Our teams followed the global supply chain to see how entrepreneurs are feeling the crunch of the pandemic.
This, you still have pairs?
No, we don't have one pair.
We're running short of this. I hope we get something soon. Black is over almost. We have one pair left. We don't have sizes for that. I've been in Nairobi now for 3 years. I came here in 2017. That business do mainly deal in shoes, ladies' shoes. Your size, what's your size?
39.
39?
Yeah.
I don't have 39 this design. Most of our stock, almost 70%, we get it from China. Yeah, because it's, they're cheaper in China. We're running short of supplies because of the virus. Like now we're running short of sizes. When a customer walks in, they want to a specific size, you don't have it. It's really not doing well because of the virus. Because of the virus, we're running short of supplies, and you know, people want to see something new. The good thing is that Charles, my brother, had traveled back to Uganda, and then now he's supposed to bring in new stuff. Yeah, because he's at the source, but now currently there's a virus. You can't bring in new stuff. So I'm thinking twice. I don't know if, okay, I don't know how long I'm going to be in this business, but if it goes on like this, I might have to think twice.
Well, I was just introduced to China by a friend of mine from Ghana way back in 2005. Yeah, and I've been, first I worked there, and then I shifted into business. I left China on the 22nd of January. The news about the virus was not as serious as it is now. Probably because there weren't so many people infected at the time. Because I'm planning on going back to China pretty soon. So I would like to be able to have everything ready to take me through the epidemic, you know.
Yo, Musiko, how are you?
Hi, thank you. How are you, Charles?
Not bad.
Not bad.
So where are you?
Yeah, are you within or you went back?
No, I'm within, but I'm planning on going back probably Sunday morning. So after the epidemic, the warehouses were shut down and I couldn't really get it in time. So I ran out of stock completely. And that means the guys that I give that buy my glue are stuck. They are waiting until I get new supply. So when the girl sent me a message that they had started production, I immediately placed an order. So here in Uganda, I import industrial glue, and most of my clients rely on me for supplies. I want to reassure my clients that the barrels will be on their way pretty soon. So we are headed out to Ivan's workshop to see how he's doing.
I've been here for 7 years. We started small, but we are trying to increase our capacity. Yeah, so this department is where the sponging takes place. Yeah, the tailors are there. Then these ones are the ones who do the assembling. You know, we get this from China. The difference it has with the gum we have around, it is so thin. You can easily spray it. But what is around is not something you can spray. And even when you put it here, maybe by brush, it's not as strong. So we are so desperate for this gum, more than anything else. I'm employing 12 people. With the coronavirus now in the picture, I don't know how I'm going to sustain them if I can't get supplies.
The factory I buy the glue from, they've just opened and they've started production.
How sure are you that you will not contact the virus?
I won't, because I bought my supplies. I was in Nairobi a couple of days ago and I bought the masks, I've bought the temperature thermometer.
Okay.
And when I go back, I'm going to work online. I'm going to be in my apartment. There is.
It is safe for you.
Yeah, I don't think we can wait until the virus
because we don't know when it's going
contained.
to.
You can't wait.
Man, I know we need the supplies here. We depend on them. But you know, life is irreplaceable. And it's very important. But if there is any way you can do that safely, then you have my prayers.
The economy has to be revived because majority of African countries, notably Uganda, depend on China for almost everything. That box is a box of the mask that last shipment I got from Nairobi, and looks like I'm ready to go. So I've just checked in, and this is my boarding pass. See this? And right behind me is the boarding gate, as you can see that. And I'm ready. I'm on my way to China. Finally arrived. Things are improving very fast. When I first came back, shops were not open. Right now, shops are reopened. Every day we have one new market opening, and things are kind of getting back to normal. I was able to load 6 barrels back to Uganda, and I sent them videos that within 25 days, they will have the glue, and they should be able to run their business as normally. I'm very impressed by the countermeasures put in place by the government. I do not think there is any other country on earth that can handle an epidemic the way China has handled it. I don't think there is any other country that can do that.
Now, South Africa's HIV program could suffer a setback if China's economy does not bounce back soon. A number of Chinese industries came to a virtual standstill in an effort to contain the outbreak. This disrupted global supply chains, including the export of a crucial pharmaceutical product needed in the manufacturing of HIV drugs. CGTN's Julie Shire has more.
South African drug maker Aspen Pharmacare pioneered the way for generic ARVs in South Africa, making treatment accessible and bringing hope to many who were dying. The halting of exports from China could not have come at a worse time.
China supplies India with key starting materials, or intermediates as they call it. India then uses those intermediates to produce the final active pharmaceutical ingredient. That then gets shipped off to us here in South Africa, and we produce the antiretroviral finished product.
Over 5 million South Africans are on the ARV treatment program, one of the most extensive in the world. 4.7 million people access these life-saving drugs through state facilities.
I'm here in Tembisa Township, and we're going to hear from somebody who has been living with HIV. ZAMA, tell us, what is it like?
Me, I'm living with HIV since from 2012, and I'm proud of that. Without medication, ARVs, there is no life.
When you discovered you had HIV, what went through your mind?
No, I was scared all that time, but now I'm not scared. I'm proud. I'm not scared because of I'm taking the medication. The medication, they make me feel good.
As long as they are on medication and they are taking it by the clock, meaning on a specific time every day, the virus will stay suppressed. It means they will stay stronger and the CD4 count and the virus will be under control.
A break in treatment could spell disaster, leading to other illnesses or full-blown AIDS, a scenario South Africa cannot afford.
The thing is with ARVs, if you don't take it regularly and then you default on treatment, definitely there will be some resistance there. Therefore, there's no guarantee that if somebody goes back on the same treatment, it will work again. Some people develop resistance, therefore it means they need to go into the most expensive regimen if they were on regimen 1, therefore they need to go to regimen 2.
If COVID-19 persists, supply is likely to be constrained, which will affect millions on ARVs and hamper the gains made in dealing with HIV. However, China is slowly going back to work and distribution may soon be back to normal. Judy Shara, CGTN, Johannesburg, South Africa.
Now, several countries have instituted lockdowns in a bid to contain COVID-19. We took to the streets to find out more about the impact of these lockdowns.
I think even we are going to die before the disease. If there is a lockdown here, you will die hung before the disease, man.
Oh, a lot, eh? Financially, as a breadwinner, I'll be affected. I will not be balancing my family at home, even here in Joburg. It will affect me a lot through financially.
People are not so okay in finances and stocking food in their houses. That's like this of China have done. They've stocked food several times, but us, we don't even have many facilities in that way.
Personally, I'll be concerned in case of a lockdown. I'm about to get married. Hopefully, this May. I'm planning to travel for my honeymoon, but I'm hopeful the coronavirus issue will pass on. We've faced the bird flu, the swine flu before, so we are capable of overcoming another one.
Obviously, I'll not be able to move. Factories are closing down. People are being sent home. Meeting of more than 500 is cancelled. Schools are being closed. Highways are free of any traffic. So everyone is taking personal precaution.
Despite the challenges posed by COVID-19, the spirit of Africa remains strong. Messages of hope and triumph reverberate around the continent. Here's a song from South Africa's Ndlovu Youth Choir, created to help promote the prevention of the spread of COVID-19.
We must minimize physical contact with other people and encourage the elbow greeting rather, which is this.
The song is called We've Got This. The message is short, simple, positive and serious. And it's delivered with the Ndlovu Youth Choir's unique blend of passion and commitment.
We want to encourage the world to stay positive.
And we believe that if the world unites, we can beat Corona.
Young people will lead the way.
Shaya means beating. We can beat this.
The key message that we wanted to share was don't panic, don't spread rumors, wash your hands and don't touch your face. And then a week later, of course, the president discussed his elbow greeting with the nation, and we responded to that and decided to just get that message out as well, that instead of high-fiving or shaking hands, we rather greet one another with our elbow.
President Ramaphosa has appealed to everyone in South Africa to practice strict social distancing as a preventative measure against COVID-19. And his demonstration of the elbow bump appears to have captured people's imagination.
Which is this.
The Ndlovu Youth Choir shot to fame in 2019 when they wowed audiences on America's Got Talent. The judges called them amazing and inspiring, and one of the best choirs they'd ever seen. High praise in high places for the members of this choir, who come from a little-known village in Limpopo, South Africa's northernmost province. When the choir was started over a decade ago, most of them, like Tato Mohambo, Chehofatsom Charlie, Sandile Majola, and Rachel Mahlatsi, were vulnerable kids from broken families, living in one of the poorest communities in the world.
It's just been the most incredible journey. Last year we were finalists, the first choir ever to reach the final of America's Got Talent, and it's just been a dream come true since then. So long may it continue, and may COVID-19 just be a little speed bump on our upward trajectory.
Armed with plenty of first-hand experience of overcoming hardship and adversity, the Ndlovu Youth Choir is determined to share their positive message during this extremely stressful time.
COVID-19 has had a devastating effect on our choir. We were fully booked for March and April. So from an economic perspective and loss of work, it's really been terrible. However, they always say never waste a good crisis. So we're using the opportunity to develop new content and come out all guns blazing once the shutdown is over.
And they have vowed to keep adding their voices to the ongoing global battle against the coronavirus.
Don't panic, we've got this.
Renee Delcom, CGTN, Cape Town, South Africa.
Well, on that positive note, we wrap up our week-long series, Africa Battles COVID-19. We do hope that Africa's efforts in combating the coronavirus will be a success. Thank you for watching and stay safe.
We've got all the business news coming up for you after the break, including several African countries call on the G20 to provide immediate debt relief to the world's poorest countries as they fight the coronavirus. Uganda's traders count losses after public transport is shut down over COVID-19. Leaders from G20 nations say they will do whatever it takes to overcome the pandemic. In a statement following a video conference on Thursday, G20 leaders vowed to undertake all necessary health measures and seek to ensure adequate financing. Chinese President Xi Jinping called for the world to come together and to act resolutely to contain the virus, develop treatments and to protect the global economy. Wu Guoxue reports.
President Xi Jinping's remarks to the G20 summit included how to take resolute collective measures against the COVID-19 pandemic.
The community of nations must move swiftly to stem the spread of the virus. Guided by the vision of building a community with a shared future for mankind, China will be more than ready to share our good practices, conduct joint research and development of drugs and vaccines, and provide assistance where we can to countries hit by the growing outbreak. This is a virus that respects no borders. The outbreak is our common enemy. All must work together to build the strongest global network of control and treatment that the world has ever seen. China has set up its online COVID-19 knowledge center that is open to all countries.
The G20 members are injecting over $5 trillion into the global economy to counteract the social, economic, and financial impacts of the pandemic. China contributed $344 billion.
With CGTN, my question is, in view of the global economic recession, what measures can China take to contribute to a stable world economy?
With the return of the work of the workers and the resumption of productive activities by the factories across the country, I think the Chinese economy is coming back to life. I think that will act as a boost to the overall global economy.
And in terms of integrity and stability of global supply chains, countries including China should work together.
I want to call on all G20 members to take collective actions, cutting tariffs, removing barriers, and facilitating the unfettered flow of trade, and send a strong signal and restore confidence for global economic recovery.
China's foreign ministry said China is looking forward to working with the relevant parties and organizations to translate it all into concrete actions. Wu Guoxiu, CGTN, Beijing.
The African Union Commission Deputy Chairperson, QUARTEY, is echoing calls for global unity in the fight against COVID-19. He also commended President Xi Jinping's tenacity and leadership in the fight against the coronavirus.
President Xi Jinping's suggestion is a suggestion that cannot be ignored. This is a suggestion of somebody who has been through the worst ravages of such biological threats, and we need to take his views seriously. I have not exactly followed the results of the G20 meeting, but from what I hear, they also support quantitative easing, they support reaching out to everybody, they support looking and tackling this problem as one people, as one world. What is left is for the the bigwigs in the financial industry to come together as one people, easing the plight of refugees, the ordinary, common people, the poor people in the camps, our poor African brothers and sisters who are as human as anybody in the world. This is the time for the world to come together.
Several African nations and organizations have called on the G20 to provide immediate debt relief to the world's poorest countries to help them cope with the economic impact of the coronavirus. The UN has also made a separate appeal for a $2.5 billion humanitarian response fund. CGTN's Coletta Wanjoy reports from Addis Ababa.
The World Bank and the International Monetary Fund want the G20 countries to agree to immediate bilateral debt relief to any country that makes a request and identify those with unsustainable debt situations. In their virtual meeting on Monday, African finance ministers said that interest alone will amount to $44 billion in 2020 in the continent. They are calling for a coordinated response from the G20 to mitigate the economic effects of the virus on the continent, which includes both debt relief and emergency funding. Ethiopia has put forward a three-point plan, including $150 billion financial aid package. In a statement, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed said that all interest payments on government's loans should all be written off, as well as part of the debt of low-income countries. The UN Economic Commission for Africa says that Africa needs an immediate emergency economic stimulus to the tune of $100 billion to combat the effects and the spread of the virus. Oxfam International, a confederation of 19 independent charitable organizations focusing on the alleviation of global poverty, added its voice to the calls for help, saying the COVID-19 crisis is collapsing health systems and threatening economies in the developed world. So Africa needs a global response to help it get through too. Coletta Njohi, CGTN, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
In Uganda, businesses have closed as the country enforces strict anti-epidemic measures. But it's left many worried for the future, as Leona Esenyange reports now from Uganda's capital, Kampala.
This interiors shop in the center of Kampala has closed its doors. The owner, Joseph Kato, says he had no choice.
What has made us close is that there is no business. Because you are opening the shop, you are incurring allowances for the workers, but these workers, first of all, they are finding it hard to move.
Businesses across the country have been forced to close as the government seeks to try and curb the spread of the coronavirus. It has left many people facing the unknown.
How am I going to survive for the next, let's say, 1 month? Because I'm not fully prepared. My work is the kind of work I can work from home.
Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni has also suspended all forms of public transport for 14 days. This taxi park, usually a hive of activity, is now deserted. Many shops downtown have been closed, with only food stalls staying open. But even for those selling food, there are fewer customers. Hassan Luja trades in vegetables. He says less than half his usual customers are now buying from him.
All the customers that give us work are at home. They cannot come to town. We are only getting a handful. It's tough.
At least 14 coronavirus cases have been reported in Uganda so far. Despite government attempts to limit the spread, fear is growing over what could happen next.
I don't think it is corona that will kill us. Hunger will.
It is getting hard for us. We don't have money to use. All our money has been locked up in the shops.
As the pandemic continues to grip the globe, Ugandans are now bracing themselves for much tougher times ahead. Leon Sanyanges, GTN, Kampala, Uganda.
We are going to a short break. Don't go away. Lots more to come, including how the DRC's rumba lovers are coping with the disruptions caused by COVID-19.
The greatest journeys, the greatest sights, the greatest adventures.
Here in Kanata, this weir allows the locals to walk on water.
We're far more than just TV news. We're your passport to the wonders of Africa.
To bring you stories of struggle, survival and hope.
So let's explore. CGTN. See the difference.
Kinshasa is renowned for its popular rumba music scene, but the government has banned concerts in a bid to limit the spread of COVID-19. So how are the country's musicians holding up? CGTN's Chris Ocharinga reports.
Music and dance define social activity in Kinshasa, and musicians here attract large audiences. But the outbreak of COVID-19 has prompted the government to ban large gatherings, and that has impacted musicians like Sela Fariala of the TPOK Jazz Band.
We don't know how we will fend for our families now that the government has banned concerts. We only hope the disease will be contained soon.
According to the Ministry of Health, 30 people have been infected with the coronavirus in Kinshasa. The band members, though, support the decision to keep crowds away.
We respect the President's directive to ban public gatherings because it will help stop the spread of the coronavirus.
Other performing artists in Kinshasa had to undergo screening before rehearsals.
As an artist, I'm very, very surprised about this disease. But we have now to give our word, because we are leading people. We have to show the example now that everybody must follow what the president says.
The coronavirus outbreak has come at a time the DRC is grappling with other epidemics like Ebola and measles. Music in the DRC offers an escape to many Congolese struggling to make ends meet. Music fans will have to forego their favorite pastime in public places for at least 4 weeks in order to limit the spread of the coronavirus outbreak in Kinshasa. Chris Ocharinga, CGTN.